We are back live with another edition of Johnny Torch Live, the Johnny Torch program, coming to you every Saturday. The only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live, Big 105th edition. We have our big Torch News Roundup, number 100 today. Woo! Celebration time, number 100. 100 episodes in the series so far. And they are all numbered and cataloged. Not all of them are live, but for the past, 7, 8 months, it's been a live broadcast. I want to thank everybody who's ever tuned in to a Johnny Torch Live broadcast, and particularly if you've been with me since the original first episode of the Torch News Roundup. A lot of excitement has gone on. I've taken a look at a lot of stories. We've looked at, I think it's been about a year and a half. Let's see. I remember covering the Ghostbusters, the female-led Ghostbusters film. So I don't know. Gee, it's been probably 2 years, I guess, because that was in production for a while, and that came out in like 2016. So it took us a while to get to 100 episodes, but here we are, and I thank you if you have taken part in any of the broadcasts, whether be it watching or leaving comments or maybe being in the chat room. Sometimes that has happened as well. I've got the chat room open again today because since it's such a big day and a big episode, I wanted to make sure that anybody that chooses to come along and say hello, you'll be welcomed. Okay, so also we have lots of stuff in the news here beyond the congratulatory pats on the back that I've made it to 100 episodes. Let's see if I can get as many subscribers. We're down to like 73 subscribers at this point. I think the most I've ever had was like 75. Some of them, I think, they come and go. I think a lot of them are just accounts that have washed out and YouTube just removes them and stuff. But let's see if we can get up to 100 subscribers, huh? So I'll say it early. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Make sure you do all that cool stuff. Share the video anywhere you choose. But let's get on with the news roundup itself. Now, first off, let's see. As usual, I am going to... No, actually, I think I got my notes organized more this time. But let's see. Okay. We'll start off with something that was pretty exciting that I heard just today in regards to the Red Skull. Oh, yes. A face only a mother could love, but one of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe. According to Twitter, there was a sort of like a hashtag that was accompanying a viewing party for the Infinity War movie being released, I don't know, I guess digitally. I don't think it's out on DVD yet or Blu-ray, but somebody asked the question if the Red Skull is still trapped in the whatever realm that was where he was protecting the final stone, the final Infinity Stone. He wasn't allowed to leave. And the Russo brothers, to their credit, didn't waste any words answering this one. They said, Red Skull is free to leave Vormir, and he is also free to pursue his desire for an Infinity Stone. So apparently the Red Skull is free to return. Now, I'm not entirely surprised at this because we all know the Red Skull's a great villain that's been missing in action. And I always knew there was some potential use for him in the future. Unfortunately, they waited so long to try to bring him out of limbo that I don't know if Chris Evans is still going to be Captain America when Red Skull comes on the scene again. But thankfully, they have confirmed now that the Red Skull isn't stuck in limbo. He's not dead. He's now free to once again roam the cosmos and possibly, if not probably, return to Earth to match wits with mighty Avengers. This should happen. This definitely needs to happen. The Red Skull, I've always said, should be a driving force of villainy in the MCU. And again, I think the ball is in their court, but it seems like something that the DC universe are more interested in. I don't think the Marvel universe wants the Masters of Evil, because they could have very easily put together a Masters of Evil, but they treat their villains mostly like they're disposable for the most part. I think there was a conscious decision to try to hold on to the Red Skull, just as they kept a hold of Loki for as long as possible. He may still even return, we don't know, but there's very few villains that I think the MCU want to hold on to and see if they come back. Like, well, of course, they haven't been instituted yet in the MCU, but Doctor Doom, I would believe, would be one of them. Galactus probably a second. But apart from that, they don't have any qualms about brushing aside these villains. I don't know why, because they really could do some cool stuff with them if they put them together in a Masters of Evil type thing. We've got Abomination still alive and kicking, of course, hasn't been seen yet. The Leader, of course, hasn't been fully fleshed out since the Hulk movie. Apart from that, we don't have too many villains that will take their part in a Masters of Evil film. You know, the Red Skull being one of the few that I could think of off the top of my head. I mean, all of Iron Man's villains are all dead. We've got the Mandarin, who's sort of lingering around out there if they ever choose to go back to him, which I doubt that they will. I can't think of anything else that is a major villain. I mean, you know, I suppose there's a few minor villains. We also have something like Dormammu, but you know, he's not a team player, I wouldn't expect. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Do you think there is every possibility the Red Skull will be a driving force of villainy in the MCU going on to Phase 4? Or do you think that his best days are behind him and that maybe, just maybe, he'll provide a cameo elsewhere, but that's the extent of it? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I certainly hope that the Red Skull will be a driving force in the MCU. And it did honestly do my heart good to see him in Infinity War, because he's such a great villain that really needs, you know, he's arguably the predominant Marvel villain, the oldest. You know, he goes back to World War II. He goes back to Captain America, long before the creation of, like I said, Doctor Doom, Galactus, Loki. There was the Red Skull. And since he's sort of the granddaddy of the villains of the MCU, or the Marvel universe, he really does deserve his due in the MCU. And it would be great to see him and Cap square off again, and you know, the Skull would finally get his comeuppance in modern times that he didn't quite get in First Avenger. I don't think he didn't so much beat Cap as much as Cap outlasted him. You know, I want to really see Captain America beat him down, you know. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below about the possibility of the Red Skull returning to the MCU in a big way. All right, our next story here, we got not a very big story, but we do have confirmation that Daredevil Season 3 will take place in 2018. They're going to air it sometime this year, which it's confusing how they'll schedule it, because we just got Luke Cage wrapped up, and a couple weeks from now we're going to get Iron Fist. That's September 7th, I believe. And from Ted Sarantos, I believe that's how you say his name, CEO of Netflix, he spoke about the upcoming release slate during Netflix's Q2 earnings video, saying in the short term, we've got new seasons coming up in the second half of this year. Orange is the New Black, Ozark, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Narcos, the final of House of Cards, the follow-up series to Making a Murderer. So people are taking this as the unofficial announcement that Daredevil will be out before the end of the season. I am guessing before the end of the year. I'm guessing Season 3 is going to take place probably in November, because I think, when was Luke Cage released? Was that June? I think it was June, and they sort of held on to it for a couple of months, you know, to let everybody get a look at it. And they're going to do the same thing with Iron Fist. I say late November, like they did with The Punisher. That's probably when you can expect it. I think they also released Jessica Jones' first season in November. So I think that's kind of it's kind of the predominant slot for a lot of their Marvel Netflix shows. So let me know what you think. You excited about Daredevil season 3? Do you want to hear me whine about Daredevil on Netflix again? Do you want to hear me whine about it? It's a short segment. I guess I can do a little whining, but never felt that Daredevil got his due on Netflix. I don't really enjoy the Netflix shows all that much. They're very bloated and long and dragged out, and I didn't like the first season very much. The second season, I've always said the second season, if you kind of condense the first 4 episodes together into a sort of 3-hour movie, you've got a great Daredevil versus Punisher movie. But the rest of the show, the rest of that season was not that great. You know, there's some cool stuff with the Punisher, but that could have been, you know, put in a Punisher movie. That didn't really add to that season. I mean, because we had Elektra, and to be honest, I don't know that Elektra's ever going to get her due, really, whether it be at Netflix or in the movies. I really don't hate the Elektra movie with Jennifer Garner. It's kind of boring. It's kind of just there. I kind of felt more for Elektra in that movie than I did for anything that they did with Elektra in Defenders or Daredevil. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe we're not going to get Elektra. We're not going to see Elektra get her due anytime soon. I've always said, again, I think Daredevil is a swashbuckling character that needs a cinematic touch. You know, he has to be jumping off rooftops. He has to be swinging on flagpoles from building to building. He has to be showing the radar sense in full display. You can't just have 1 or 2 scenes among 3 seasons of television that show the radar sense. You've got to see that in action, and we haven't seen that really. Again, like I said, the bloated seasons, all the Netflix shows have them, especially the Marvel ones at least. And I just hope that this season 3 will be better. I don't think that Bullseye is going to have a costume. From what I hear, Matt's not even going to wear the costume, if at all, but especially not for much of the season. Maybe they're trying to do Born Again where he doesn't wear the costume or something. I wasn't really a big fan of those. You know, I like what Frank Miller did in his early stuff with Bullseye and Elektra and that stuff. But later on, as things started falling apart, and like I said before, I didn't like what they did to Karen Page. I don't think that's going to happen here, though, of course, because that's way too sensationalist for, you know, modern audiences. I don't think they're going to do that, particularly in these politically correct times. But let me know what you think about Daredevil Season 3. Are you excited about it? Are you like me, who feels meh on the Netflix series as it is? Again, I like the actors, like Charlie Cox, and I like Deborah Ann Woll. So, you know, I'll still watch. I think Vincent D'Onofrio is confirmed to come back, and he was very good, too. I liked him a lot. So, again, it's another case of the actors are good, but it's just too bloated. They need to condense the story. If it only fits in an 8-episode story arc, just do 8 episodes. Don't give us like hours upon hours of Kingpin talking to Madame Gao and, you know, in Japanese. I don't know, or Chinese, I think it was. But either way, look at it. It was just like long stretches where I just was like, oh man, this is boring. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think they can get a compelling 3rd season of Daredevil on Netflix? All right, let's stick with Marvel for a second here because we got the new Venom trailer, and to be totally honest, I'm thinking less and less of it, the film. I like the look. He looks really good there. I have to admit, this looks like an action figure from, and that's, I'm not saying that in a condescending way. I mean, that's a good thing. When the character looks exactly like he came off the page, that's a good thing. Don't let anyone ever tell you different. A lot of people complain about Shazam, and actually I haven't heard anybody complain about Black Manta. That's kind of goes to the conversation I was having earlier. You know, the DCEU, they seem to be much more willing to go there with the villains. I think you're going to see a Legion of Doom film at some point because the Justice League 2 movie is pretty much on hold indefinitely. But the thing about DC is they really pride themselves on their villains, maybe even to the detriment of their heroes sometimes, which is why I think Kevin Feige took such a stance on elevating the heroes. The heroes get the spotlight in the MCU films. We don't focus on the villains. But like I said, with rare exceptions. And so I think they're going to be willing to say, look, we've got a gold mine in DC villains. We've got Joker, everybody loves. Nobody loved the Zack Snyder take on Lex Luthor, but Luthor is a great villain. We've got Black Manta, Black Adam, which is apparently not going to be in Shazam. But they do have their villains that they want to build up, and they want to try to focus them together to try to get some interest drummed up in the DC universe. And one of their strengths is villains. Okay, I don't got a whole lot to say about Venom, really, to be honest with you. This trailer was okay. I don't like a lot of violence and stuff, as I've said before. I'm squeamish. I make no apologies for it. I didn't see Logan in theaters. I waited till it was on television so I could see it at home and not have to subject my stomach to such escapades. So usually if things are going to be R-rated, I'm not in a hurry to see it on a big screen and, vomit after seeing it. But this looks like it is going to be quite graphic. I'm not really pleased with that. But again, for every taste of flavor. All right, so with the beginning of it, we have a voiceover. Eddie talks about investigating. He investigates big corporations and stuff, people that have something to hide. He gets attacked by some person with a symbiote in them, which I think later on in the trailer, we do see that person continue with the symbiote. The Asian woman, I think it is. So she attacks him, and that's apparently where he gets part of the symbiote in him. I'm not sure. He's running through the forest, and he goes home. He's shaken up. He hears the voice of Venom speaking. Drake gives sort of the generic bad guy, megalomaniac spiel about how he's trying to help the human experience, and human life is only going to be bettered by what he does to these poor hapless test victims. And this test victim guy does the cheesy hand on the glass thing where, the hand of God, and Drake is going to do something terrible to him, even though he sort of put his trust in him or whatever. And the guy ends up getting eaten up by the symbiote. He gets broken in half or something. I don't know. Looks gnarly. And then we get to see a lot of the same stuff. Eddie defending himself against Drake's men in the apartment. Venom talks face to face with Eddie. He sort of does that thing where the symbiote comes off, but the Venom face is still there talking to him, which is a pretty good visual, I'll admit. We get to see his injuries being repaired. Apparently it's Eddie. We can't tell because it looks like he's under a car or something. Again, that looks gnarly. His leg is busted, his arm is busted and stuff, and the symbiote pretty much heals him. Then we get to see Venom doing the whole menu monologue there. He does that a couple times in this film, in this trailer, where he talks about the pancreas, the eyes. It's it's delicious. He even licks the guy, which was kind of disturbing. I never understood this because I didn't read a lot of Venom comics back in the day. I was never a big fan of the character. It's more like, I always seen the Green Goblin as Spidey's arch nemesis. And granted, Venom doesn't have a great backstory, so that might have something to do with it. But I never was really fascinated by Venom. I think the best Venom origin was in the animated series, the 90s animated series. So let me just get to the point. I never understood what this whole thing was about Venom eating people. He's a symbiote. He's part of a human being, but why does he need to eat people? I don't understand that. I mean, maybe it needs to be explained, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because I remember there was an action figure back in the day where if you pressed something on his back, he would say, "I'm going to eat your brain." And that didn't sit well with parents, consumers, and that was removed. I remember that was kind of a big story in the 90s for his violence, in children's properties getting to be too much to bear, and that was one of the things. So I don't really know where that comes from, that Venom just eats body parts. Maybe I'll put that question out to you, see if you can give me an answer, something I could look up somewhere on why that is or how that came to be. Then we get to see Venom running around. Some pretty cool shots. We see him jumping around. It looks like it really is straight from the page. Like I said, that's something that's a positive. Eddie says the power is not completely awful, which is, that's cool. That's a nice kind of, moment there. Then we see the female symbiote cutting a guy's head off. She's obviously, I don't know, she's a symbiote, I suppose, but I don't know if she's under Drake's control or this is just her maybe being controlled by the symbiote. I don't know. Eddie gets cornered by the cops. He's like, you don't want to do this. Then we see Venom swinging like double axes against people, which was also another very cool image. But see, there's a lot of cool images. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So the trailer pretty much ends with we see the other symbiote trying to tear Venom apart. It really wasn't that great of a shot because this other Venom looks too much like the real Venom. I don't know if it's supposed to be Carnage, because the rumor was Drake is going to become Carnage. I imagine they're saving that. They don't want to show that. So this is probably the symbiote that the woman has, the Asian woman. But it just looks like Venom, but with like a slightly grayer skin. I mean, I think there are other symbiotes in the comics. Again, not being a big Venom fan, I don't really know them by name, but I think there's a white Venom that's got like black spots and stuff. I mean, they could have used a much better looking, skin, a much better looking image of the character than just doing another Venom with like sort of a grayer tinge. It's sort of like probably a money saving thing, but I don't know, not great. And then again, the trailer ends with Venom running down the menu on a guy and what he's going to do to him before he bites the guy's head off, apparently off screen. The funny part, though, is when he tells the lady that he has a parasite and he just sort of walks off like it was nothing. That was funny. That was pretty funny. That was cool. Tom Hardy's got an interesting accent in this. I don't know what exactly accent he's doing, but he's good at accents. We all know that from Bane. So, again, I don't know. This might not be for me. I might not be seeing it, but let me know what you think about Venom. It looks to be interesting anyway, but this new tactic that Sony's doing, trying to make solo villain movies for Spidey villains, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, the only place it might work is with Venom. They had the Silver Sable and Black Cat movie in the works, which has been shelved for the time being. And they apparently now have a Kraven the Hunter film that they want to do. And my question is, I can see how you might do something with Venom without Spider-Man, because they even did it in the trailer. They said there are enough superheroes in the world, and I forget what they say, but like it's time for a supervillain. You could do that once. You could play that card and make Venom an anti-hero. I don't really see what you gain to do with that with Kraven the Hunter. I mean, Kraven the Hunter, he's got, he doesn't really have like this conflicted, I think probably what they're going to do with him is probably do a take on Kraven's Last Hunt, which was a very dark comic book story for Spider-Man, which I didn't like as well. I don't like the dark stuff, but where Kraven ends up burying Spider-Man alive. Again, I haven't read it in probably decades at this point, but he buries Spider-Man alive. Spider-Man, of course, ends up coming back, but in the interim, Kraven finds that life doesn't have any meaning for him anymore because he overcame the one challenge he had, which is he wanted to be able to defeat Spider-Man, and that was the thrill of the hunt for him, and the hunt was gone after that. And he offs himself. He basically just blows himself away. And Spider-Man comes back and sort of deals with the ramifications or whatever of one of his biggest villains killing himself because he didn't have Spider-Man to hunt anymore. And while that's like an interesting concept, that's to me a big waste of the character. I wouldn't really want to see Kraven's run end just because he was bored. Because Kraven was like the George Sanders of of supervillaindom. And too soon? Too soon? I don't know. I don't think so. For those of you who don't know, the joke, sort of some dark humor, but George Sanders, famous for playing Mr. Freeze in the Batman TV show, and he played Shere Khan in the Jungle Book, the voice of Shere Khan. But he ended up killing himself, I think it was the late 60s, because he felt he'd done everything there was to do and he was bored. And he apparently wanted to take his chances in the next life and see what it had in store for him because he was just bored with life. And it was one of the few times I've ever heard of someone killing themselves over boredom. But apparently, Kraven the Hunter is another one. All right, I've got some news here. I'm not just here to wax eloquent on Kraven's Last Hunt, but Collider reports that Sony's in-development solo film based on Marvel's infamous big game hunter has landed Equalizer 2 scribe Richard Wenk. So Richard Wenk, I believe I'm familiar with that name. He was a writer of choose your own adventure books for Indiana Jones. When I was a kid, he did one or two of them. Eye of the Fates was one of them, I remember. I think he did another two, Legion of Death or something. I really like them a lot. So he might be a pretty good scribe for something that's maybe in the vein of like an Indiana Jones where he's sort of like hunting and stuff. But still, I don't see what you do with Kraven without Spider-Man. I mean, you can't have these villain films without a protagonist. In the case of Venom, like I said, maybe you can play him as an anti-villain, or an anti-hero. But how do you do that with Kraven? What is he going to do? I mean, you'd have to come up with another antagonist, just like you have to have another symbiote for Venom to fight, and apparently he's going to fight a few of them. But Kraven, who's he going to go after? The Lizard? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what they're going to do. But I don't know. I don't see what you can do with these Spider-Man villains in solo films. I mean, what's next? We're going to have Rocket Racer, the movie? I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Well, let me know what you think. Is this a good idea? Should we be making solo films for villains, for Spidey villains particularly? I don't know. All right, next up we have Sonic the Hedgehog news. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up to date with some of the Sonic the Hedgehog news. Like I said, I played the video games a lot when I was a kid. My brother's still a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Last we heard that Jim Carrey was up for the role of Dr. Ivo Robotnik. And now we have casting of James Marsden, former Cyclops actor, who I really wish this guy would get a role in a superhero film again. Particularly, I mean, he did get like Superman Returns, but that's, you talk about thankless. He had the most thankless role in that film. But I would say the perfect spot for him right now would be on The Gifted. I would love to see like a completely anguished Scott Summers joining up with The Gifted and helping them out on that TV show. That would be fantastic. I would love to see that. I know a lot of people are saying that maybe Anna Paquin would be on the show because her husband is the showrunner, I think. And that would be great too. I mean, I'd like to see some of the old school X-Men appear on that. I mean, heck, I'd like to see Hugh Jackman show up as Wolverine, but I think one of the things, they could still do it because, Logan isn't necessarily set in stone for one thing. For another thing, that's sort of like set in the year 2023 or something. But they could very easily do this where they could have all those guest stars show up and have, But see, the problem is Hugh Jackman is a movie star. James Marsden is still a movie star, even though he hasn't really, let's be honest, he hasn't really hit it big. Well, the jury's still out if Hugh Jackman is going to have a huge career after Wolverine. I mean, he's done The Greatest Showman, but really, is he going to carry a big multi-million-dollar franchise again? I don't know. Maybe he would be willing to reprise that role in a smaller way, keep himself in the public eye. But James Marsden, in the meantime, has been revealed as the lead human role in Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, and he will be playing Sheriff Tom Wachowski, which I don't know what that name, if that's a name that's synonymous at some point with Sonic the Hedgehog. I never heard of it. For the town of Green Hills. And that's, of course, supposed to be a play on the Green Hill Zone. Everybody remembers that from the original Sonic the Hedgehog game. And this is probably going to be like Smurfs. That's kind of my problem with these films when they try to take like these characters and make them. It's different on something like Scooby-Doo, where you could take live action actors and stick them in, and it'll still make a good movie. But if you try to do like one animated character that comes out of his animated world, and Roger Rabbit him and try to make him interact with all kinds of quote unquote normal people, it doesn't have that same spark. It's like, I don't know, they should have just made a computer generated movie and just have the voices of these actors. I don't know. I don't think, of course, James Marsden isn't any stranger to working opposite computer generated character. He was in Hop, where he played opposite the Easter Bunny. I actually seen that movie. That was. I'm not going to say it's a real good movie, but yeah, it was pretty good as a kid's movie. It was, it held my interest. Took my sister to see that years back, but yeah, it wasn't bad. So I mean, like I said, I like James Marsden. I like him as an actor. So I was like, well, at the very least, you're going to see James Marsden, showing off a different side of his character, of his acting skills. But I mean, as far as being, I'll be honest, I don't like when they do movies about the, like the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. I don't know how you would describe them. Our holiday heroes, the Tooth Fairy, because it's always like schlocky. You know what I mean? The Rock is the Tooth Fairy, and the Santa Claus with what's his name? Alan. Can't remember his name right now. But it's like, it's always like some kind of strange take on the original thing. And the same thing here with Easter Bunny, with like poop and jelly beans. I mean, it's like, when I was a kid, it's like we took, our holiday heroes seriously. It was like the Santa Claus movie with Dudley Moore. They played it straight, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, well, Santa Claus dies and then somebody else plays Santa Claus, and then that happens after somebody dies, then there's another Santa Claus. I mean, I liked it back when I was a kid when they played these things straight. And, the Santa Claus movie, I probably haven't sat through it, and I probably sat through it like 10 years ago maybe or something. But, even if it wasn't a masterpiece, it did feel like they were, treating the character seriously. The way they treated, because that was done by the same producers, of course, the Salkinds that did Superman, and they had verisimilitude that Richard Donner sort of put in their mind, I suppose, to treat Santa Claus with respect. And so, I mean, as a character in that film, you can't complain. Santa Claus was treated with respect, But like I said, most of the time nowadays, they just they treat him like it's a comedy, and it's like, what goofy thing can we do with these characters? And kids are like left scratching their heads like, am I supposed to, oh, Tim Allen, that's his name. Am I supposed to think that Tim Allen is like Santa Claus and that's what happens in real life? I mean, it's like, it's messed up, I think. That's why I don't like those kind of movies. And I wouldn't take my kid to see those movies really. But, my sister wanted to see that movie. Everybody wanted to go. So I was like, hey, James Marsden. Like I said, it wasn't bad. It was entertaining enough. I'm going off on a on a tangent here. But anyhow, let me know what you think about these holiday films, these holiday hero films. Do you think, like I do, that they mess up kids when you do like crazy stuff like that, and to try to take those heroes seriously? I do. If you think so too, let me know in the comments below. Alrighty, so we've got half a show to go still here, and we are at our big 100th Torch News Roundup live, and we're doing a very important episode today because the show started 100 episodes ago, and I just want to talk to you, the viewer, for a second before we get into the second half. And the idea has always been, as I said before, to do sort of like a news show, a talk show, where we talk about all the cool stuff that everybody likes, pop culture, mostly comics, but we also talk Star Wars. We also talk, Star Trek, any kind of sci-fi that interests me. I mean, there's a large variety of sci-fi that's out there. Probably not enough of it appeals to me, but stuff like that. movies. I'm pretty much into only the comic movies and stuff like that. But so if you're into that kind of stuff, you got throw some support my way. You gotta hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's see it. Let's see my subscribers go up to 100. That's the goal I want to see by the end of the year. We had some influx of views recently. I've been getting some more views than I've been getting, which is really cool. I got a couple of subscribers in the past couple of months. I just want to see if we can make the channel grow. So again, I'm kind of doing a PSA in the middle of the video, trying to, because I did that She-Ra video, which was well received, got a lot of views. I did my Supergirl campaign video, Supergirl, please punch a big robot, and that got some decent views. I got a couple of good views in the recent past. Let's see if we can, spin that up, get that taken to the next level. Let's get some more views. Let's get some more subs. Let's see if we can share this video, get more people involved. So if you can possibly do that, that'd be great. I also want to take the time to also mention The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, my comic book. I've taken it out to a couple of conventions already this season. I'm going to look to see if maybe I can get a couple more conventions in before the season is out. And, it would mean a lot to me if you could check out my website. The link is in the description below. You could find a free preview there that will show you all you need to know about the characters, a couple of bio pages there for the heroes, the villains, and other characters. You can check me out on Twitter. The link is in the description below. And you could check out some of the shenanigans I get into there. We talk about everything that I talk about here. We're also doing polls often on there, so you can vote in the poll of the week question. Also, I also got to mention the work from home page. I was wanting to do a video for that for the longest time, but you could check that page out because, if you want to make a couple of extra bucks, it's a great way to do it. That helps support me and my art as well. And, also on Twitter, you can check out some of the things that I've been reviewing. I would like to do a video to sort of encapsulate the Cloak and Dagger series that just finished up on Freeform. But you can see some of my reviews on that if, I don't get around to that soon enough. But I am hoping to do a video on that pretty soon. All right, so just like I said, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, do all that good stuff. Let's see if we can get this channel to build. On the 100th episode of the Torch News Roundup, this is a great time for you guys to just, get ready for the future. I'm not, going to look back on those videos as much as I'm going to look forward to the future and the great topics we got ahead of us. So see if you can help build this channel, and that would be really appreciative. I would be really appreciative if we could see a little love in the subscriber column and in the views. All right, let's take a look now at pressing the wrong button. Okay. Again, here we go. All right, we have some rumors here, and I stress these are rumors. This has been bandied about on Twitter for the past couple of days, but apparently the Birds of Prey film is going to be out starring Margot Robbie, and the producers are looking at a few actresses on their shortlist that they hope to include. 3 names that have made the news is Alexandra Daddario to the left, Vanessa Kirby, which I'm not too familiar with. It says she's from Mission Impossible Fallout, and Blake Lively on the right. Now, we did a poll of the week question a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but where I asked who would you want to play Black Canary, and apparently Blake Lively is up for Black Canary. And one of the first actresses that popped in my head was Blake Lively. I think she would make a good Black Canary. And of course, also on the list, I had Catherine Winnick, Natalie Dormer, and my personal choice, Yvonne Strahovski. And Blake came in second to Catherine Winnick. who seems to be the fan favorite. But I said I think Blake would probably be good in the role. She does seem to have that kind of presence. She was, of course, also already in Green Lantern, but I don't know. Would fans hold that against her? I mean, she actually did good in the film. I mean, it's not like she gave this terrible performance or anything. I think a lot of people would say that probably second to Mark Strong, she was the strongest performance in the film. I think that fans probably have a short enough memory that it wouldn't feel like Carol Ferris is playing Black Canary. But I don't know. What do you think? Did you think would you give Blake Lively another chance at a DC hero? I mean, I think she deserves it. I would have much rather seen her play Star Sapphire, because that was, of course, the intention with her being Black Canary. I mean, with her being Carol Ferris. As you can tell, I'm tired. I I always do these shows tired, and that's why I'm always forgetting names, making mistakes. But when you get 6 hours sleep, that's what happens. As for Alexandra Daddario, I think that's perfect casting, because I wanted to do a poll for Huntress actresses, but I can't really think of any. I couldn't think of any because brunette actresses, they're not quite as plentiful as blondes. And of course, you don't have to be brunette. You could just have someone dye their hair brown or something. I mean, Blake dyed her hair brown to play Carol Ferris, but I think Alexandra Daddario is great, and I think she would be great as a DC hero. I mean, you can kind of just see, look at her face, you can just kind of see that Huntress mask on her, can't you? She got that great look. She has those beautiful eyes that'll just pop behind a mask. And Black Canary really isn't known for wearing a mask. I mean, she's worn a mask in the Arrow series because, you know, it kind of makes sense that you have to protect your identity. But, you know, I think, yeah, I can just kind of imagine that costume on her. It looks like, you know, she would really play it really well. I was wondering if perhaps maybe she would have been better suited for Zatanna. I think when I thought of Alexandra Daddario, I kind of had her in the back of my mind for Zatanna. But again, like I said, she has that real great look that she could wear a mask and still have those eyes pop, and it would be a great visual. And I think, yeah, I think that's perfect casting. I don't really need to hear anything else for Huntress. Again, this is all just speculation. Nobody knows really who's going to be cast or if this is even legit. Let's see. Warner Brothers had no comment on these rumors, and Birds of Prey is set to begin filming in LA on January 15th. So they got some time. They're not going to announce anything yet. So let me know what you think. Do you think this is a great combo? I don't know who they would have that Vanessa Kirby play, because the other character is supposedly going to be the Asian Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, and I don't think they're going to hire a blonde to play Asian Batgirl. And also is going to be Renee Montoya, who's, of course, a Latino actress. I mean, a Latino character. You're going to need a Latino actress. So I don't know. I don't know who she'd be playing. Maybe they'd make her be Oracle. Although, you see, I really want Batgirl. I really want the Barbara Gordon Batgirl. I don't want Oracle. And, you know, depending on what they do, I really don't want to see it. But again, this actress is probably too young to play, I would think, probably too young to play Oracle. Isn't Oracle sort of like the 35, 38-year-old Batgirl? I'm not sure. No, she probably couldn't be that old, because Batman is still Batman, and he's, what, in his 40s at that point? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we will move on now to, as you may know, I have a campaign going on, which you can help me out with by tweeting the hashtag Supergirl Please Punch a Big Robot. See if we can bring some lighthearted humor back to the Supergirl series, as it's poised to be the most insufferable ever this season with all the stuff. I covered it very well in my Comic-Con coverage video, and also in a special like it was like 18-minute video talking about this and why it's so important that we hashtag to the CW how Supergirl has fallen by the wayside. But let's see, the news that has just come out for Supergirl, she may indeed be punching a robot, but not quite a big robot. In a manner of speaking, we've got Brett Spiner, who is going to join the cast of Supergirl. And of course, he's known for playing the android Data on Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, I personally really like Brett Spiner. I think he's a great actor that really hasn't gotten his due. I mean, none of the Next Gen actors really have, besides Patrick Stewart, of course. But I mean, I'd have liked to seen Jonathan Frakes do something else. You still see Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton, occasionally and stuff like that. I guess of them all, Brett Spiner has kind of had the least noteworthy career. I mean, I haven't seen him in anything else apart from on the convention circuit. At least Frakes is a director. I mean, he's not in front of the camera anymore, but kind of feel like he's contented with what he's doing. I don't really know what Spiner's been up to since Next Gen. Of course, like I always say, I'm not really the biggest Next Gen fan. I watched the first couple seasons. I've watched it intermittently. Even to this day, if it's on TV, I might stop on an episode and watch it. But I can't really claim to be like this, uber fan that knows all the episodes and can tell you the character arcs and all the stuff that went on. I mean, I was a big fan of the original series. Like I said, minor fan of Next Gen. Saw a handful of episodes of Deep Space Nine. It was kind of interesting. I was probably only really watching for Jax. Is that what her name was? Terry Fowl. And then after that, I kind of lost interest in the other shows. I've seen maybe 2 episodes of Voyager in my life. I've seen like maybe 3 or 4 of Enterprise, which I kind of gave Enterprise a chance because, for one thing, they were going backwards, and I wanted to see some like old stuff, old school. And I also like Scott Bakula. You kind of feel like we finally got another Captain Kirk type actor that might make the difference. But it didn't really win me over too much. And I seen 1 episode of Discovery, but all right. So let's take a look at this. What's going on here with Brett Spiner? Brett Spiner will join Supergirl's 4th season in a recurring role as Baker, vice president to Linda Carter's President Olivia Marsden, first introduced in season 2. Okay, so first off, Baker, what is that? Is that because Marsden we know is the name of the Wonder Woman creator, but I don't know. I'm going to say before I even read the rest of this, he's going to be a villain. We all know he's going to be a villain because, for one thing, he's a man, right? And if SJW's Supergirl is known for anything, men are either mostly ineffective, such as Supergirl's father. They gave him sort of like sidekick status to Allura, and then they even took that away from him by killing him off. Or he's shady, which would be in the same category of Max Lord. Who's the guy they got in Matthew Edge? Is that what his name was? Oh, Morgan Edge. Yeah. See, that's the same difference. They show up for 2 or 3 episodes, and they sort of have to exhibit their toxic masculinity, and then they just drop them by the wayside. These characters, they don't care. They're interchangeable. What do they care? And Spiner's probably going to be just like another Weasley man character who displays the toxic masculinity and is probably going to attempt to assassinate the president when he finds out that she's an alien. What I would like to see is he actually is a robot. That would be cool because, you have the president being an alien. And they dropped that last season. Maybe it's because of Linda Carter's availability. I don't know. I mean, Linda Carter is almost in the same boat as John Wesley Shipp. It's like they bring them in for like 1 episode, I don't know, maybe 2 episodes a season, just to say, hey, we got one of the stalwart actors from, superhero lore to come on our show. But they don't do anything with them. You know what I mean? It's like they do 1 or 2 episodes and it's like, yeah, give me a season where they're, where they're heavily involved. That's what I would like to see. But, you know, I don't think that you're ever going to see that. You're not going to see Jay Garrick as a, you know, main player on the Flash TV show. He's not going to. He should be getting the role that Harrison Wells had last season. You know, and now, you know, he's going to be off the show because he doesn't have the same intelligence. They're going to bring in a new character for Kavanaugh to play. Get John Wesley Shipp in. You know, let him be sort of the wise sage in this season, the whole season. And the same could be said here. I mean, she, you know, the president here, she could be doing something proactive for Kara, but it's probably not going to happen. Of course, it would be cool if he became this 20-story robot that well, whatever. And this is not going to be what I want. Let's just put it that way. This is not going to be what I want. This is not adding the fun and enjoyment back into Supergirl that I was hoping it would be if they did in fact add a big robot. But they're adding a smaller robot, and I don't think it's going to make any difference. According to comicbook.com, there are hints in this casting that President Marsden might not be around for much longer. Veep, that's what he is. He's a Veep. Veep Baker's character bio describes him as adept and politically minded. Oh, see, he's going to be on the side of Agent Liberty, right? Agent Liberty is going to be the renegade right-wing rebel rouser that's, you know, a scion of Trump. And, you know, I can just read the whole season before, you know, I can just write it down on a piece of paper and just, you know, I'll date it. And you can tell me if I'm right, you know, after the season's over, because I can tell you exactly what's going to happen in the show this season. That's why I'm campaigning so hard to try to get Supergirl to punch a big robot, because this season is going to be insufferable. It is. It's going to be insufferable. Okay, let's see. Baker's character bio describes him as adept and politically minded, and tellingly makes for an unlikely leader, but steps up in a big way when his country needs him most. Yeah, I bet he does. That sounds an awful lot like President Marsden could go through events that require her VP to step up and take her place, whether it's through political shenanigans or being Supergirl, superpower shenanigans. Yeah, see, what's going to happen is they're going to find out she's an alien, and she's going to end up having to, like, step aside. And she probably is going to get martyred at some point in this, because we need a martyr for this whole, you know, program, basically. All right, let's see. Anything else in this? Let's see. Nah, just what we already know. It was revealed that Marsden was actually a shapeshifter at the end of season 2. She's an alien in disguise. So yeah, it's the same old. Pretty much what I thought this was going to be. You know, let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this going to be something you're interested in seeing? Do you like Brett Spiner and hope that he is going to emerge from this show unscathed, finally getting another pop culture role here and something that's comic book related? Like I said, I'd love to see him. You know, they could turn the thing on its head, maybe make him an alien too. But I think from all accounts, he's just going to be the sleazy vice president, and they're going to play up sort of I would say Dick Cheney, because the libs really hated Dick Cheney so much. But they probably could do the same thing with Pence, and they're going to have Agent Liberty as the Trump surrogate, and they're going to have, you know, this Baker character be sort of the Pence surrogate, I guess. That's probably what it's going to be if you ask me. But hey, you know, we just got to get this campaign going, you know what I mean? We just got to get it off the ground. Supergirl, please punch a big robot. Leave the SJW politics to the side. We don't want them. We don't need them. We don't like them anymore. I don't think most of us ever did. I mean, you know, again, we've got the anti-immigration storyline. We've got the anti-racism storyline. We got the transgender superhero storyline. We've got the single lesbian trying to adopt storyline. Oh, please, just go away. Go away. I don't want to see any of this stuff. I just want to see Supergirl punch a big robot. Is that so wrong? Is that really so wrong? Hashtag Supergirl, please punch a big robot. Let's see if we can get it to trend. Wait until the show airs if you want, but use that hashtag, please. Okay, so as we are in our waning moments here, let's talk about the Flash movie has gotten its rumored release date. Oh yeah, there he is, the Flash. I have no idea the context of this picture. This could just be Saturday night at the Ezra Miller residence. I don't know. Seriously, though, it was a Comic-Con, and I don't know. Ezra being Ezra. He's got a big mushroom on his head. I guess he's playing that Mario character. I don't know why he'd be doing that, but yeah. Okay, so we'll just move on. I had to share that picture because it scarred me, and if I was, it scarred me for life. And I'm just gonna let the rest of you have your own fun with it. I don't know. While DC fans are, let me read this report here about the Flash movie. While DC fans were initially more than a little bummed to hear that Flashpoint wasn't happening anymore, it's just exciting to finally be getting a Flash movie, period. Ezra Miller was a standout in Justice League, blah, blah, blah. When John Francis Daly was asked about the movie at the beginning of summer, he stated that a 2020 release date would happen if all goes well. It appears that all is going well for subject. Okay, so yeah, apparently he has, what's this director's name again? I'm just trying to scan this article because I'm not reading this whole thing, but John Francis Daly, he's apparently going to be the director. Is that what it says in this? I don't know. Again, my notes are incomplete because I have a terrible computer. But so apparently we've got the Flash back. It's not going to be the Flashpoint paradox. They've scrapped that idea. Again, if you want to see the entire history of the Flash film, try to find a Torch News roundup. I can't remember the number. I number them so that I can, easily refer to them if I want. But there is a Torch News roundup where we went over the entire project from, Rick Famuyiwa's coming and going. There was a director before him. There was a director after him. All of them abandoned ship. Then there was the Flashpoint Paradox project that was going to happen. Then that wasn't going to happen anymore, and they were trying to go for like a Back to the Future type vibe. I don't really know what this film is going to be about anymore at this point. I don't think anybody does, possibly including the director. But yeah, let me know what you think about the Flash movie. What's going to happen? What's the worst that could happen, as this video is titled? I think we're looking at what the worst that could happen is. Oh man, I don't know. No, actually, like I said, I liked Justice League. I'm one of the few that'll go on record saying Justice League was a good movie, not just a okay movie, not just a mediocre movie. I was happy with it. It was a great movie. I liked Ezra Miller. I don't think he was bad in it. I didn't like him in Batman v Superman when he had the strange look and the coming from the future, or whatever that was. But I think if they give him the right direction, he probably will do good as a solo star in this film. Because the worst that could happen possibly is that he needs somebody to support him. Because I remember they were saying that maybe Cyborg would be in the movie, maybe Wonder Woman. I don't know. I heard a lot of rumors. I want him just to be alone in this film. I just want him to be the only hero. I mean, you can have a cameo of Cyborg or whatever. I don't know. Because apparently Cyborg might not even be getting his own movie anymore. That was on the cards for, I think, 2020 as well. But I haven't heard anything about that, and chances are it ain't going to happen. But, and they seemed like a pretty good pairing in that Justice League movie. So if you had to have another hero, probably would be Cyborg. But the problem is I want them to take the Flash seriously enough. I mean, they're making him a somewhat more comical character, which is good for a team ensemble film. But I hope that they can, and again, I'm looking up at the screen, but I hope that they can take the Flash seriously. With Ezra Miller, is that a shoo-in? I don't know. I don't know. I don't want this to be a parody of the Flash, obviously. But I think if they rein Ezra in and, obviously write it as a straight piece, I think he'll probably be able to handle it as a, solo star. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Ezra Miller as the Flash. Let me know what you think about the Flash as a movie. Do you want it to be a solo film, or do you want to see him interacting with other heroes? Let me know in the comments below. And we have our final story of the day, our final bit of business. We have Matt Reeves letting us in on a couple of tidbits about how the Batman is shaping up, what is going on with that. Another troubled production, apparently anyway. Let's see. Matt Reeves said, "We are working on getting our draft in the next couple of weeks. Right now, my head is totally into the script. Right now, I'm going to be leaving here to go back to work on the script. What we've talked about is hopefully in the spring or early summer, something like that, for a release. For the beginning of the shooting, because there is no release date. They don't even know when they're going to shoot, but spring or early summer is what Matt Reeves is talking about. So we're talking about like another year wait before, so that script can probably be in like 3 or 4 more drafts before they actually get to shooting. Affleck is still involved. Rumors are saying. Nobody knows exactly what he meant by that. Does that mean that he is still co-writing it or producing it, or is he going to star in it? Is he just going to appear in it as sort of young? As old Batman, and sort of young Batman is going to be the focus of it, because there was a lot of speculation this might be a year one movie. Let's see. Reeves goes on to say, from the beginning, what I had always spoken about with Warner Brothers was that I was excited about being in the Bat universe and really doing something within that sphere. That was always what was going to be. So in that way, it hasn't changed a lot since I first met with them. It's very much the same thrust, if that makes sense. A lot of things have happened since then. The movie, and why I'm excited about it, is the way this is written is a little weird. Let me try that one more time. A lot of things have happened since then, but the movie, and why I'm excited about it, is it continues to be the same inspirations and excitement of what we talked about in the beginning. We're not doing any particular comic. Year one is one of the many comic books that I love. We are definitely not doing year one. It's just exciting to be focused very specifically on a tale that is defining for him and very personal to him. Obviously, we're not doing an origin tale or anything like that. We're doing a story that is definitively Batman, though, and trying to tell a story that's emotional and yet is very really about him being the world's greatest detective, and all the things that, for me, since I was a kid, made me love Batman. So I feel like I botched that ending of that. What did he say? We're doing a story that is definitively Batman, though, and trying to tell a story that's emotional and yet is really about him being the world's greatest detective. So yeah, they're going to try to do a detective-style Batman, which we got a little of that in The Dark Knight. But the thing is how much of that can you do without it being boring? You know what I mean? I want to see a real villain. A lot of people are saying this is going to be a noirish Batman. Let me take a look at the rest of this article. One more paragraph. Let's see. Steve says, I've talked about making it a very point of view, noir-driven, definitive Batman story in which he is investigating a particular case, and that takes us out into the world of Gotham. I went on a deep dive again, revisiting all my favorite comics. Those all inform by osmosis. There's no continuation of the Nolan films. It's very much trying to find a way to do this as something that, for me, is going to be definitively Batman and new and cool. Okay, so again, like I said, I just say that, I don't want it to be boring, because if he's just handling a case and being a detective, I kind of think that means he's only going to be, and it's noirish, he's only going to go up against mob bosses like Maroni and stuff like that, which, again, some of that is fine. I'm not saying don't ever, because my favorite Batman movie is, in fact, Batman Begins. And part of the greatness of that was the fact that it was an origin story, and you see Batman cutting his teeth the first time going up against the criminal element, against the mob, and Maroni and Falcone. Also, The Dark Knight. That's a good backdrop. But you also need the Ra's al Ghul. You also need the Scarecrow. You also need, what I mean? There's a more colorful element to Batman that needs to be showcased that you can't just get going after mob bosses. You know what I mean? Just as I don't think like a Joker movie is going to be that exciting when it's just the Joker going up against sort of a Clarice-style detective or something. I think in the same manner, you can't really have Batman just going up against Scarface or something. You know what I mean? You have to have him going up against, a real comic book style villain, not just a Tony Montoya. You know what I mean? And apparently the rumor is the Penguin is going to be a antagonist in this film, and a lot of us are kind of thinking, well, I want to see Clayface, Man-Bat, some of the ones that haven't been in it before. I like Penguin as a good sort of side villain, kind of. He'd be cool. Rumor also has it that I've heard that Two-Face might be in this story as well, or at least Harvey Dent. I would like that too, because Two-Face is actually my favorite. This is tough to say definitively, but Two-Face, played by Aaron Eckhart, I think is my favorite Batman villain in live action so far. I think he's my favorite. And I think, I don't want to say we got cheated, but I mean, he only had like the last, let's say the last act of that film, The Dark Knight. But I would have loved to see more of him as Two-Face. I mean, he was great as Harvey Dent as well, of course. But I mean, if they could have prolonged it and, like, I would say, like, end the movie with him just becoming Two-Face and then having him be Two-Face in the sequel, that would really be great to have him, like, take over a full movie. We've never had Two-Face really being the emphasis of a full movie. I mean, like, the animated series, of course, had the greatest take on him. We had the Batman Forever version, which wasn't stellar. I mean, we had the Dark Knight version, which really didn't give him a whole lot of time for development. He just sort of goes off after Gordon's family. But I would like to see the animated series take in live action and just give us the full treatment of Harvey Dent descending into madness and all the stuff that happened with him. Of course, I like what I hear so far. I mean, he's talking very much about the definitive Batman, something that he wanted to see since he was a kid. That's cool. That's really cool. Like I said, I always, since I was a kid, wanted to see the definitive Batman movie. I don't know that we've got it yet. Honestly, don't know that we've got it. My favorite is Batman Begins because I believe it's the definitive origin. That's why I was happy when he said it's not going to be an origin film, because we do kind of have the definitive origin film now. So to go back to that, I don't know if it's necessary. I don't really know if they can go back to it either, because didn't they show the flashbacks of Batman v Superman, and this is still supposedly the same Batman? So I don't think that's really a possibility. But I don't know. What's the worst that could happen? Again, we're talking about, is this what you want to see in a Batman film? Is this going to be too cerebral? Is it going to be too, Chinatown or something? I don't know. It's something where you just, it's a noirish detective story, and there's no real high stakes. They're just trying to find a murderer, basically in these detective stories. There's no colorful villain that's going to take center stage in the last act, such as Clayface, or, I mean, he doesn't even need to be like a full CGI villain. I'm talking about, even someone like the Riddler or something like that. You would want them to be colorful and not just be what we've gotten on Gotham, which is just a guy in a suit with a hat. We need the question marks, we need the cane and stuff like that. I just want to see something flashy. And the same thing with the Penguin. I just don't want to see a fat guy, with sort of, I think maybe Batman Returns sort of overdid the Penguin, but at the same time, you don't want him to be lacking. You want there to be the monocle and the top hat and the tuxedo and the cigarette holder. That's the stuff that you want to see from Penguin. I'm sure that in the politically correct days that we were in, you're not going to see the cigarette holder. But so anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about what we've heard about Matt Reeves' Batman? Are you hopeful that Ben Affleck is going to come back? The way I feel about it, I would like to see him come back, but I know that he's on borrowed time as it is. So if he comes back for just like one more film, what good is it really? I mean, rip off the Band-Aid now, recast, and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, we have to face this at some point with all these universe characters. Batman's going to need to be recast because Affleck's not going to stick with the role for the long term. I think Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill will. But the problem was getting Ben Affleck, who I thought was going to be fine in the role, and he proved to be fine in the role. But I knew he wasn't going to stick with the role. And you're going to have a trinity now where you have another actor come in to fill in for a main player. And they're going to be facing the same problem in the MCU. I don't really know how they're going to attack that. I think from what I heard in the past, Feige said that they are going to recast, because you really don't want to see you really can't imagine an MCU without Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. They're the mainstays. I mean, they're the tentpoles. Spider-Man, but of course he's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. But what do you do in this case? What do you do? Do you, because Feige says, oh, we're going to have like closure in these films after Infinity War Part 2 or Avengers 4, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know exactly how they're going to handle it either. We're going to have to see in the future how this goes. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the Batman. And that is about it for our big 100th edition of the Torch News Roundup. God love you for being here. Thank you once again for joining me for any or all of the episodes, if you've seen any of them, if you've seen all of them, which there probably is a few that somebody didn't see, nobody saw it. There's a couple, I think, that are views. So check them out. They might be old news, but you still might enjoy it. Big round of applause for you, the viewer. And here's looking at the next 100. That's the way I look at it. We're looking forward, baby. The show is not going anywhere. The only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Torch News Roundup, Johnny Torch Live. We got some more stuff to bring you. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can do a Cloak and Dagger review. The show just went off. And they're going to do, I think at least, they're going to do the Runaways on Freeform now that Cloak and Dagger is over. So I might check that out and see if I can give you a review on that. That's going to be like staggered every week. So by the time that comes out, we're looking at like 2-3 months from now, maybe 2 months. I don't know, before that whole show is viewed. I'm watching the Star Trek films. I might do another ranking video. I don't think anybody saw the last 2 ranking videos I did, ranking the Indiana Jones films, ranking the Batman films. So if you want to check them out, I did get some views on the Spider-Man ranking video, so you might check that out. Might do a ranking video on the Superman movies since it's the big 80th birthday of Superman this year, and we got the 40th anniversary of the Superman movies. I mean, Superman the movie. I might do the Superman movies. So, and of course, we've got lots more stuff to look forward to in the Torch News Roundup itself. A lot of more exciting news coming out. So, thank you so much for joining us again, and until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.